Sweet. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Manny, welcome as the second person from your old shop to be on this podcast.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Manny De
Well,
Los Santos from
I'm in
Small
Abilene,
Shops.
Texas.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was in
Flight
the
E,
ordnance
although you're Aviation
managerial
Ordinance.
and helped the Flight E guys all the time, and I helped with in the 53 world.
Well, you got a bit of a lag coming from your end.
Oh,
So you got not good Wi-Fi. So there you go. That's better.
make sure that I'm set up good. So sometimes it's hit or miss. So let me make sure I got everything running as fast as I can. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
All right. So, yes. Sorry, there's just a weird thing. As soon as you said 53, it started like speeding and slowing down, and I'm like,
Oh no.
shit, I really wish I knew what he was saying right now.
No, I was
Oh,
just
don't
saying
worry, I'm just
how
recording on your end and it'll get uploaded.
neat. So just tons of editing for this one now.
Not really. I actually barely have to edit anything like the way that like this website records things. It'll like record on your end and it'll record on my end and then it'll conjoin together in like a central place. And so I won't have to do much. And
That's
like,
awesome.
there's been maybe one or two that I've had to like uh, download like mine and the other person's files separately and then link splice them together and like make them match. But that was really odd one, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell happened.
Wow.
But yeah, I haven't had any real problems with it.
That's good to
So
know. Because at work we do a podcast. My boss does a podcast. He's the
yeah,
star, and sometimes we'll do people joining from other states and other schools and stuff like that. So I think I can't remember what they're using for their software, but if this works really good, I might suggest it to our marketing person so they could use it.
yeah, it's pretty good. And so I think for like 5 hours of recording for a month, it's $20. So it's not
That's not
horrible. And then
bad.
like if you want like extra, it's like not much after that. Like for like if you go over, they'll just charge you like whatever it is. But if you like ahead of time, it's like a better deal. So it really depends on
Right.
what you
Just
do and
say,
how you
hey, I'm
do
gonna
it.
need an extra hour and tag it on.
I mean, you don't even say you need an extra hour. You just record it, and then they're just like, "Oh yeah, it's like $2 or $3 or whatever it was." Because I think that happened to me like once, and it wasn't horrible. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I don't care."
Neat. So what do you want to talk about, man?
You, or we can talk about
Me?
food, conspiracy theories, life.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Where are you
that.
doing? What are you doing? How have you been?
Cool, I can do that. I was gonna ask first, like, how are you doing? I see a lot of posts, and I know when we messaged, you were talking about like how you do time in Alaska and then time back home, and I'm like, so when you're in Alaska, are you doing like mech work, or are you doing a different job than you were doing when you were in the Marines?
Oh, massively different. So since 2010, I have been doing environmental work, soil and groundwater cleanup. I've been working for one company since then. Stumba actually got me the job. And so what we do basically is we put holes in the ground, we fill it with a conductive material, or basically another technology we use is like a giant toaster element, and we heat up the soil and groundwater volume, and everything that's in that volume will turn to steam that's, not like soil or a
Right.
rock. And we suck that all out with a giant vacuum cleaner that looks like a supercharger.
Yeah.
And that's our vacuum blower. And then we either burn it off or run it through activated carbon to catch it all. And
That's crazy.
it
So like
sounds simple,
thermal
but it's a lot more
electrolysis
complicated.
and steam.
So it's called thermal remediation is the name of the
Right.
technology. And there's electrical ERH, I'm going dumb with it. Electrical resistive heating is the first one. So that's the one where we use electricity off the grid. And then there's
Yeah.
thermal conductive heating, and that's the one which is essentially giant toaster elements.
That's crazy cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am also doing something wildly different. So my life went like real crazy right after Afghanistan, bro.
Mhm.
So for your guests who don't know me, I grew up here in Abilene, Texas, which is the middle of nowhere in West Texas. It's the biggest city between like Dallas, Fort Worth, and if you headed west, El Paso, Amarillo, Lubbock, all those big cities. Like we're in the middle of that. Um, and I was in the Marines for 12 years, as some of your people know, because I've been seeing who follows. I did all the things in the Marines. I did. I was an ordnance guy. Worked in the small shops for the most part for the first 4.5 years. I was a McMap instructor. I became a crew chief later on. I went into QA. Did all the almost all of the full systems qualifications to try and get all of my full systems QA certs and stuff like that. So then I went to Afghanistan and then came back and went to recruiting school. And that's when the world was like crazy wild, flipped upside down. I got in a motorcycle accident that almost died within the first couple months I was there on recruiting duty, and then kind of had to adjust my life a little bit because I was a crazy heavy drinker, so I had to kind of stop drinking so much to regain health again, and because the alcohol was not helping me healing and all that stuff like that. So I stopped drinking and got kind of started eating clean and slimming down, stuff like that. By the time my recruiting time was done and I went back to the fleet, I had got married for a second time and had a baby on the way. The Marine Corps was like not looking fantastic. People were getting kicked out for dumb things. They were slimming down like the numbers. So you had good
Yep.
sergeants and good corporals that weren't being allowed to reenlist for stupid paperwork that's like, guys, this shouldn't even been paperwork. We could have taken care of this with the tree line or making them stay. We could have taken care of this, but now you're putting paperwork on these guys and kicking them out because they don't fit your image of what a Marine's supposed to be. Because their boss doesn't like them, and we're seeing sergeants with like the fire watch ribbon and that's it. And I'm like, whoa, this is not the Marine Corps I remember. This is not the Marine Corps I want to serve in. When my boss could have less deployment time or less experience time than me, and they're not like lieutenants or captains who just get out of school. I'm talking about like there were corporals and sergeants after 3 years. There were sergeants already. I'm like, whoa, uh, I can't do this. I don't want to be involved with this. And so instead of reenlisting, I got out and I went to school for digital art so I could work in the video games industry. I wanted to design video games, work on video games. I'm a huge gaming fan. I haven't been playing a lot recently because of work, but I still love the industry. And while I was doing that, I found how much I remember, like, kind of like mentoring the younger guys because I was the old man. Everyone
Yep.
else in college had just got out of high school. I was already in my 30s, starting my life back up. And I remembered all those, the younger dudes that were kind of similar to me, kind of looking up to me like a big brother and kind of helping them and mentoring them and coaching them along. And I really loved that feeling. That's one of the best things that I remember of being in the Marines is the people, hanging out with the people. The work sucked. 16-hour days aren't fun, but you love the dudes that you hang out with. Y'all bond over dumb stuff and good stuff, and I found that there with a group of dudes there. I decided to continue my education. I went to a 4-year college and got my degree and did in traditional art, drawing and painting and traditional things like that, and got a job in a nonprofit art gallery here in town that was I was like the art teacher. It was a long title, the curator of education and programming and community outreach. It was a long, crazy title that I had, but basically all I did was teach all the free art lessons, schedule these really cool art events, and then also kind of promote all those events. So go on TV and talk about them and do all that kind of stuff. There was other things that I had to do, but it was 3 years of work in the nonprofit world, which was really hard, raising funds and trying to tell people how important art is outside of just something to look at. Creating art being therapeutic for veterans. I was in a program called we called it Art Heals. We partnered with the Military Veterans Peer Network, which is other veterans helping veterans to do like art therapy style art activities with vets. And I loved that. I loved, helping those people out. Those activities we also were able to use with kids that experience trauma. We used it with refugees that have come over. Abilene is a hub for some African refugees, so we use the same art heals techniques with those people, and we're able to kind of do something good with just creating small things. We weren't making masterpieces that would hang up on people's galleries and walls, but to those people, it was really significant and fun. We were able to incorporate music and things like that because I'm a huge music fan, not just like uh, contemporary music going on now, but like old school stuff. I'm a real fan of all kinds of music. My heart will always be in the metal genre. I grew up on Metallica and Megadeth and all the
Yes.
Pantera and all that stuff. Oh yeah, for sure. That's my roots. That's what I grew up on. But with other influences too in that same time frame. And so we were able to use those kinds of musics to kind of like, bro, you know what it is. Like whenever you're about to go on a flight or you got a big mission, what amps you up more than like putting on some Vulgar Display of Power album and just like pumping up to it. And sometimes those types of songs kind of help those vets relax and chill. And people are like, but it's so loud, it's so aggressive. But it hits us at a wavelength that's where we're comfortable at, and that's where we're chill at. That's where we're good at. So using that kind of like high impact stuff and creating art at the same time, we were able to do really cool stuff. I did that for about 3 years. Because all the while doing all that, I was training martial arts on the side here in with a school in town that is a fantastic school. It's called Team Chip Martial Arts, uh, and I started off as just a plain white belt beginner going through the ranks, and quickly found that as another outlet for me that I really really loved, balancing music and art with doing martial arts on the side, and I was able to find my happy place pretty quick. I will say that I um, as many of the same friends that I know that didn't make it the same way, that succumbed to the darkness and took their own lives, and people who are still struggling through things like that. I was able to kind of fight through that transitional period and depression thing that just happens naturally. Almost every vet gets out, has this little time where their loss of identity happens, and
Yep.
that's hard to break from and to get over. And I was lucky to find the things that I did as outlets to handle that. I'm not saying I'm through the woods every day, but for the most part, I'm doing okay. And training there for as long as I was offered a position to work there full time as an instructor, as their chief instructor, and kind of continue this trend of leadership. While I probably don't wrench as much as I used to, and I definitely don't work on ordnance as much as I used to, I'm still able to use the benefit of being able to teach and kind of be on the same level as my troops, not be a desk guy and sit behind the desk and just point the finger at what to do, but being willing to get dirty with the people. And I think that's one thing that being in the Marines, I love more than anything is that was kind of a prideful thing for us to still be able to work. Yeah, they kind of sometimes sidelined the older guys and the guys that kind of lost attack. They put us in a shop or they put us behind the desk somewhere, maintenance control, or we weren't on the wrench as much. We kind of prided ourselves in being able to stay on the flatlining as long as we could and turn the wrench as long as we can before they kind of shelved us. And I think I never lost that. I never wanted to be behind the desk forever. I do enjoy some admin work, but I really want to be dirty all the time. So I get to do that as a martial artist every day. I get to train every day. I get to punch bags, hit hard and train really well, and then also kind of guide and lead training younger martial artists and people like that. So long story short, I'm still just a jarhead punching things and kicking things, and I get to do it every day, and it's really really fun.
Fuck
Hopefully that didn't
yeah.
take too long.
No, that was less time than you think it was. But I do want to like circle back to something you said earlier. So you're working in digital media, and that's what you got your degree in. So do you still do
That's
that
yeah.
stuff?
Oh yeah, all the
So
time. I actually just finished doing a children's book for our school, and it was all digital art. On the side, I do like commissions for digital art pieces. I got one right here since I'm in my art studio. So
that's
that's
pretty sick.
yeah, and that was all digitally done. It was done on my iPad with a app called that I use Fresco. It's like Adobe Photoshop Lite. I use Fresco. I learned it a long time ago at like a digital art convention, and I just stuck with it. There's tons of other programs out there that are really great. That's just the one I use. But I've done that. This one also is a digital piece here that I added some like traditional on top of. So after I did the digital painting and drawing here, I painted on top of
Yep.
it, added some other stuff, kind of mixed media it out. And I do traditional stuff too. You can see I have my easel on the back here. It's got a piece that I'm working on. It's kind of based. I don't know if you can see it. I'll pull it off. It's still kind of drying, but it's got some winged creatures here, kind of an
Nice, very
angel type
nice.
thing. Yeah, based off of Coed and Cambria, one of my all-time favorite bands. Um, this
I
is
do remember that
another
about you.
version. Yeah, this is another version of that. Just kind of based on their angel creatures called the Prize, and I have like some lyrics ghosted in there, stuff like that. Um, but the digital thing has always been it's been kind of really really cool to me. It's not the same as traditional because I can like zoom in and scale and I can draw really small and have it printed out really big. So that's a benefit. I don't have to buy $80 canvases and create a $20 painting and try to sell it for $100 or anything like that. I could just draw and draw and draw. As long as I have memory on my iPad, I can continue drawing over and over and over again. So that's cost effective. It sounds expensive at the front end to get like an iPad and an app and stuff like that, but after 6 months, if you're drawing consistently and all the time, you've already spent all that money, and you're making money or benefit from it from not having to buy sketch paper and pens and ink and all those things. So I really really love digital art. Uh, I don't like AI art, and that's like a big topic these days. Like, ooh, just AI art here and there and everything. I don't like the way AI art gets its algorithm pieces, its data to use. I think the technology is neat. Create a robot who can take those things and create something is cool concept. I just wish there was an ethical way that those dudes were kind of using people's art to create their algorithms. But digital art is yeah definitely still on my radar. I do a lot of commission pieces on the side. People ask me to draw their D&D characters and stuff like that. But yeah, I still do a lot of digital work.
So have you seen any impacts on your I don't know, ability to make art or like the amount of commissions you got coming in and out based from the AI's world,
So
like taking over things or anything like that?
not me personally because I don't create that much content and it's not my mainline gig. It's this very sideline for me and most of my clients and people that I deal with are either local or people that I've known, like Marines across across the lines and they'll hit me up individually. I'm not making it my main gig where I'm like out there trying to promote myself and the content that I post is just very sparingly, hey, here's a drawing I'm working on and I remembered to record it this time so I put it out there. I'll get into stints where I'll record like 3 or 4 videos every day, and then I'll make like a dump. I'm not very consistent with my digital art as much as I should. If it was my mainline gig, different story. But I do have friends who are local here who have had to switch, like the media that they moved from Instagram to another program called Kara, which protects the art that they post on there from AI algorithm using their art, and it is their mainline gig. and they do see people, using their art, or AI programs using their art. We've typed in one of my friend's name before in an AI generator, and it came up with very similar art style and art results, and it was a little spooky because I thought it was going to be, only the big artists that I know that would be impacted by this kind of thing. But even artists who, if you posted more than 100 pieces of work online, the algorithm will use it. We'll be able to find it and use it if you're not posting it somewhere where it's AI protected. Yeah, I personally haven't seen any real impact from it because I don't think I saturate the market enough. I don't think I have enough content out there for it to bother me. That, and I don't really have a lot of outside my organic circle kind of clientele. So uh, I think that's my only benefit to why it's not impacting me. If I were to decide to really buckle down and make this my main gig, I'm sure I would probably take steps to stay outside of that algorithm. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. No, I think the big thing you got going for you is that it's not your it's like a side hustle thing for you, even though you studied
Yeah.
it.
Oh
Is
yeah.
using your art to like do that. I also really like how you got out with the Marines and you're like you didn't exactly realize what you were doing, but you're like, I need to find a new community and I gotta stay
Oh yeah.
active. So you got into
Yeah.
Taekwondo.
Yeah. Yep, love Taekwondo. Love Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I do both, and I I mix in uh, every other thing that I know inside there. We do a little boxing from time to time, some Muay Thai striking, and so it's Taekwondo is our base, and we learn all like the traditional patterns and forms from Taekwondo, all the traditional punches and kicks in the traditional Korean Taekwondo style, and then we can say, okay, now how does this work in a real life scenario? Because in a real fight, nobody's gonna stand like this ready to fight or get in a traditional stance ready to fight, unless you're that one dude in that video from a long time ago that pulls his pants up and is doing his thing. Um, Nobody does that. So you remember that video? You remember the video where like there's like he's in a
Yeah.
parking lot and all these dudes are around him and he's like, "Let's go!" And he pulls his shirt up in his pants and he's like doing this thing and it's like nobody does that other than him. So we have to use those traditional stances and techniques as the foundation because if you do those things really well, whenever you have to do them just out of instinct, they'll be cleaner and more accurate kind of striking. So we really impress upon staying foundational, but being able to kind of move into the contemporary, whatever happens kind of style. And we actually had a conversation with some of our younger black belts this week. It's not going to look pretty in a real fight. Nobody's going to say, "Ooh, your foot wasn't perfectly pivoted, and your right hand wasn't at your belt. It was kind of up." Nobody's going to care. They're just going to say, "Oh man, you just kicked that guy in the jaw," and in the moment, your adrenaline's going to be up, and you're going to be really kind of like keyed up, and then at the end, man, my ankle hurts. Why does it hurt like that? Well, because you hit somebody in the face with your ankle bone instead of with your shin and top of your foot. But did it get the job done? Yeah. So good job. We're really about functional technique, not really just pretty forms and doing the kata dance stuff. Um, it's hard to do. It's hard to balance the traditional, make it look pretty, make it have power, make it look really well, and then switch to, but what if this guy grabs you in the middle of this situation? Well, now I have to work on my ground game. And then that's when the jujitsu comes in and you keep your enemies close and work on creating space and taking space away and all the other foundational things about jujitsu that we really love. Um, yeah, I think that was huge in in me staying sane and me staying level when I got out for sure.
Oh hell yeah. It's one of the biggest things I not just people that we were in with and stuff like that, but everyone like that I know, like as we get older, they're like, oh man, I'm like, down in the dumps, this or that and the other. I'm like, start exercising, find a community. Like, I
Go
don't
do
even
something. Yeah.
drink less and fucking just go find something to do and people you like and go do that. Like, I don't care what it is. Like, even
Yeah.
like, I'm like, church? Okay, that's not your thing. Okay, exercise? That's not your thing. Fishing? Hunting? Like, give yourself a reason to do stuff. And then find like minded people that enjoy doing that also. It's like,
That's the coolest thing I think about the time that we live in is you can find a community for anything. All right, so you like
Oh yeah.
left-footed, you like the just the left Van shoe from the 1980s collection. I guarantee you there is a group somewhere out there that is all about just the left shoe and the Vans from the 80s. You know what I mean? Like this is a weird world that we're living in where every niche community can have a spot, a space and a pocket to meet somehow somewhere. You know, statistically, maybe in your town of 20,000 or 115,000 people, only 8 of you might like the left shoe out of the Vans from the 80s. But if those 8 of you and other 8 from this town and another 8 from that town, you can make a big community. Um, I'm
Oh yeah.
actually in my studio space. It's called the People's Plaza as a collective, as a group, a spot that we have here. And every first Friday, they get together and do like a ad hoc art show, art festival, little marketplace, and you find like little niche groups of people that do specific kinds of art or sell specific little things here. And so if you don't know what to do, go out and find one of those weird little pop-up things and say, "Oh, look, I actually kind of like this thing." And you'll find a community. It's not hard to really find a community these days, and that's what I love about the internet. I told my kids yesterday, like, I helped, like, the memes that you think are funny aren't news to me. I helped shape the internet to the weird sense of humor that it is because when I first joined the Marines, I had a lot of free time on the internet. I was 19 years old with full access to the entirety of the internet in its like infancy, you know, Newgrounds, Goik, you'rethemannow.com, like the hot or not era.
Yep.
Like I helped shape the weirdness that the internet is part of. My generation of Marine kind of helped shape that with all the free time that we had. So all the stuff on the internet these days, it's funny. I know exactly why it's funny because I was there when it was born. It feel like that meme with the lion saying, don't cite the dark magic to me. I was there when it was written." Like that's who I am now.
Yep.
Old internet man.
No.
You can find a community if you want one.
Oh hell yeah. But I mean, also counterpoint to that is like you shouldn't just have an internet community. You should have like a local community, like people that you can meet up with. Like being around other people and like exchanging ideas face to face is massively different than you and me doing this. Like it's a more
For sure.
fulfilling thing.
Oh yeah, that's I was telling my wife that this morning. I said, you know, it's cool that we get to do this. I remember there was a time during COVID with the Marine Corps Ball, we had a Josh Rader opened up a Zoom thing. He paid for like a Zoom thing for 24 hours, and it was like a drag and drop. You dropped in and just said hey to everybody as you wanted to, and people stayed on there for hours just talking and communicating with each other. And then it was like, but how much better would this be in person? Yes, it
Oh,
was beautiful and
massively.
it was great to see everybody at the time, but that doesn't replace those 3 hours that we had at, like the Marine Corps balls or the when we had our going away send off parties at somebody's house when they were leaving, and so we bought 2 kegs and we set them off really strong. Those moments are the ones that I remember more than anything. And I was like, yeah, it'd be really cool if I was like going and seeing Steve. If we were going, if I was saying, hey Augie, I'll be at your studio in like 10 minutes, and that'd be a different kind of excitement. There's a lot of excitement. I was, you were reaching out asking people to do the podcast, and I was like, one, do I know Augie enough that we're gonna have a meaningful conversation? And I think we do. I think we connected when we were Marines together on so many other things other than being Marines, like music and
Yep.
and similar
Art.
fitness goals and yeah, just things like that. Art and our friend circle was pretty tight, so it wasn't never like exclusionary at all. Anybody was always welcome to join the circle as long as they weren't being offensively just hateful. And I really love that about your personality was you were very welcoming. You're willing to be friends with almost anybody as long as they weren't again being total jerks to anybody else. You were invited. You were included. And that's awesome. I want to say that about you. And then there was a am I interesting enough to people want to hear what I have to say? I don't know. I don't care. Now that I'm here, I'm excited that I'm doing it. Um, and then it was like, man, I get to connect and touch those memories and those things that I did miss and I did enjoy about the Marine Corps. Um, in just talking to somebody who was there with you, there that little bit of understanding of that very rare, weird time in my life uh, is helpful and beneficial to me, and it makes me feel happy to remember a good time like that. How much more exciting would that be if we were like face to face, if we were sharing a meal together, if we were like having a couple drinks together? If it was even better, what if we went and did a workout together? Like, how crazy would that be?
I'd love
Of a
that.
like a like let's go. You do my workout for half an hour, and I'll do your workout for half an hour. Like something like that would be so fun. Like, I don't do the same kind of workout you do. I do a different kind of workout, and I would love to have the body shock of doing what Steve does to get buff. And I know the kind of flexibility kind of drills and different kinds of techniques and stuff that we do would be something new for you. And sharing that would be like amazing, right?
Yeah, so every couple of months or so, my best friend in town, and like if I'm around on Saturdays, me and him will normally work out, and me and him were the only two from our graduating class to go directly into the military, and then we hooked up later again. He went in the Air Force, went in the Marine Corps, uh, but he does kickboxing and he instructs that. So, and like growing up, I did kung fu. So
Yep.
like every once in a while, he's got one kid who I forget which belt he just won. I can send it to you on Facebook. The kid's name is Gabe Vega, and he just won a fucking championship up here around Buffalo
Nice.
somewhere. And whatever, he's just like, hey man, Gabe's in camp, so we're not working out this week. Like, so you're coming to kickboxing Saturday morning. I'm like, sweet.
All right, that's what we're
So
doing
every once in a
today.
while, I'm like, I haven't done this in years. Like the first one, I was just like sucking wind so fucking hard. I'm like, this is amazing. Like I was just like
It's a
lying
different
down
cardio.
halfway through. I had a sweat angel. I'm just like, I love this. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, no.
I'm not okay, and I like
Like
it. Yeah.
I showed him like one thing. He's like, I never thought of like to do, and like he like because like there was like I forget if it was me or someone else. I'm just like, yeah, you gotta like lift your knee really high. So like I just like grabbed a chair and I put it in front of the bag. I'm like, yeah, don't hit the chair.
Don't hit the chair.
This is how I learned. Like this is how I learned to get your knee really high. They put a chair in front of the bag and like you got to get your leg and your knee over that chair. It teaches you to
Yeah.
lift that knee high and then the rotation of that hip. And he's just like, I've never thought of that. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
interesting.
that's a great idea. We do similar stuff. Like, so we teach all age ranges. So like from
Yep.
3 is when they start, and I think our oldest student right now is he's in his 70s, right? Or
Oh
about to be in
fuck
his 70s.
yeah.
He's like 68, about to be 70 something. I've had older students, but they started for a little bit and kind of after they got active again, kind of fell back and they kind of cycled through. But so from 3 years old up, so we'll take like the top of a punching bag and we'll put it down sideways. So it's just like at their hip level or a little higher. And we tell them to kick their leg over that. And that teaches them to make a big circle with their foot. Because if not, they'll just pick their foot up and think that they did it. Like, yeah, I did it. Like, no, no, no. Make a big circle over that bag. And then after like 2 or 3 days of doing that, you put the target in front of them and they make a big circle and they hit hard. So yeah, put the chair in front of them. Give them something visual to actually look at, and a little bit of danger. Like if you don't do this right, you'll hit the chair. You'll hit the thing. You don't want to hit the thing. You want to hit the bad guy. So yeah, I
You want
love
to hit the
that.
hard thing
That's
or the
really
soft
cool.
thing with your leg? Which one?
Which one exactly? Yeah, you get to choose.
Yep.
Brings me back to the old Marine Corps adage: you're either going to be smart or you're going to be strong. Which one?
It's like the song from the Jackass movie. You can't be smart. You gotta be tough.
That's it. You have to.
Oh yeah,
You
hundred
get good
percent.
shins, or
No,
you,
but
you get good shins, or you get good technique. One of the two.
oh man, you want to talk about getting good shins? So you remember Pumphrey?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he grew up doing Kaju Kembo like his entire life because his stepdad, who was a recon marine, did it. And
Yeah.
so like the first time we were like talking about things, and then like I brought like my heavy bag down from New York and I brought it down and he's just like, all right, cool. And he starts busting out like 1 inch dowels and just like rolling his shins out. I'm like, what are you
Yep.
doing? He's like, oh, just basically body hardening. He's like, getting my shins ready. And he's like, he had done it his whole life. So like, I didn't know this, but his shins were tougher
Yeah.
than shit. So
Oh
he's like,
yeah.
yeah, let's do
So
some
yeah,
body hardening warm up. I'm just like, fuck my shins. And he's just like, pussy. I'm
ready
like,
to go.
God damn it.
Yeah.
I have so
Those
much to
Kaiju Kembo
learn.
guys, they spar like no gear, full contact, straight up, and it's awesome. Like
Oh, yeah.
we put gear on and things like that for longevity. We want to train for a long, long time. Those guys build up, really high tolerance to hard impact, hard contact really fast. And I think that's a cool thing about that style. It's what we consider a hard style, like the Kaji Kembo, the Ishin Ryu, the Taekwondo, like old school Taekwondo stuff, not Olympic style, but like the old school Taekwondo stuff. Those are hard styles. You strike bone on bone. You make contact, and you learn to either get muscle so that you can protect yourself, or get really strong up here to those kind of impacts. And it builds a strong student. Not everybody can take that, so they kind of like they fall off as they go. So if you got like a good black belt Kaju Kibo kid that went through all the legitimate sparring and breaking and things like that, they're tough as nails. They've
Oh,
been
yeah.
beat up a good bit, and they're tough.
And that was Pumphrey.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. I
wild.
was just like, holy shit.
You're gonna roll my shins out real quick.
Just
I
gonna
remember body
roll
hardening
this. I'm just like,
at boot camp. Whenever we used to have to like get in our guard position, and we would just like elbow strike each other like in the perennial nerve. Remember that? Golly, that I'd
yeah. And then
never
the one
felt
where
that
you're like
before. Yep,
smacking the forearms together,
cross
like
hitting each
right
other.
here. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, what the
we're
fuck is
doing
this
like low
for?
blocks and hitting each other in the forearms this way, and then swinging this way and hitting. Oh man, um,
Yeah.
I've told my students about that, and they're like, "There's no way." I said, "Do you want to feel it? I'll let you try one. I'll let you try one time. You do it to me, and then I'll do it to you. So I'll let you'll feel it. I'll let you do it to me. So it's not like I'm just beating you up. I'm not just hazing you. Um, and I said I'm gonna go really small, really short strokes. I'm not gonna hit you the way the drill instructors were like yelling at us, hit him harder, and I just did a couple like really light ones and like, oh, that's enough. I said, yeah, getting struck on the inside of your thighs, it's a whole another level of pain that you just don't realize hurts so much.
Oh, yeah. And then if you had like a real bony kid, like for the one where you're
Yeah.
hitting right in here, and like I got like there actually is a muscle like right there, and like I'd try and like line it up as I was like hit that muscle, not the bone. I'm just
Not the
like, fuck,
bone,
got the bone.
please. Yeah. Yeah. Well, since I in the motorcycle accident, I lost a chunk. There's a big scar here now, and there was a rock in there. So that muscle you're talking about isn't really there for me anymore. So now it's just bone right there. That's fun. Uh, but
Ugh.
I know exactly where I wanted to get big forearms specifically so that that wouldn't hurt me anymore because just that bone on bone was murder.
So actually, there's a really good way to do it. My dad taught me it because my
Yeah,
dad's 70 and a black belt and still doing martial arts.
that's awesome.
So like you take a either a baseball bat or a dowel and you like tape a 5 pound weight to the end of it, and then you just do
Yeah,
that
like a mace
like in that
workout.
direction. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then hold it the other way and do the same thing and get this muscle
upside
down
down
here.
like the pendulum
But you
swing.
can see, yeah, so like but you hold it along your side, so you're like doing it against gravity,
Yeah,
and like you can get all that stuff, and then you can do the turn with it. Like 90 degrees is all you should do. You shouldn't do full 180 because you could fuck things up in there doing the full 180. So it's a 90-degree
yeah,
turn for those. Yeah, he taught me like all of that.
those are
And
great
then
workouts. I love big
yeah,
muscle workouts. You hit the bench, you hit the weights. But lately, I've been all about like more like building up my supporting muscles, like inside the shoulder type stuff, flexibility type things, mobility, range of motion is my. This year,
oh
I'm
yeah,
really on range of motion, and I've noticed that stronger in the ability.
I think I lost you.
Oh, you still there?
Yep, still here.
Cool. Yeah, your screen went blank for a quick second, and I was like, I better be quiet. Um, but yeah, I'm so much stronger now because of the ancillary muscles and the smaller supporter muscles that I've been working out with the kind of calisthenic and body weight range of motion stuff. So I love those kinds of workouts. I've not trying every bit of thing out there, but for the most part, I'm in a new. I'm not trying to get bulky and big. I just want to have good range of motion and flexibility. I want to be able to be 60 and 70 years old and still be able to do things and not strain and struggle whenever I'm older. I got a grandbaby now, so I've my mindset
Oh,
of
damn.
health. Yeah, I know. She's 4 months as of yesterday. Yeah, my oldest daughter that actually at VMX, she was born during that time frame. We were all there.
Okay.
Uh, she she is 19 now, about to be 20, and she had her baby in March. So I'm a granddad. I'm old, and but that changed my perspective on fitness though. Like before, it was kind of like I want to be strong, I want to be able to have good cardio. I want to be able to last in the gym. I want 3 minute rounds to not feel like murder. I want to be able to roll for, 10, 15 minutes straight and not feel winded. And now I'm thinking like, I want to be able to roll when I'm 60. I want to be able to, take care of myself when I'm 60 years old. That's when my granddaughter is 20. I want to be able to still wrench on the car and teach her things and still, go out fishing and camping and still be able to do stuff with her through her life, throughout her life. I don't want to be the grandpa who is, at 50 years old looks like beat up and run down. I want to be there for my kids. It's changed my perspective on fitness for me. Eating differently now. I used to eat so bad, but because I was working out so much, I justified it. It's okay. I'm working out, and I'm keeping
I
I'm
think
keeping
we
my
all ate
figure
like
for the
that in
most
our
part.
20s.
Yeah. Oh, now
Yeah.
even though I'm keeping my arteries, I can't see the extra. So now I'm eating a little cleaner now, a little bit more about how my sugar intake. Dude, it's crazy how much sugar there is in just basic food that anybody is just eating on a daily basis. So I cut a lot of sugar out of my diet and still get to eat good food, man. I still get to eat, steaks and eat burgers, stuff like that, just not as often. I don't just gorge on food anymore. I eat until I'm full, and then I drink tons of water now. It's just really different because I want to be there for my grandkids. I want to be there when the time comes. My oldest daughter just had her baby. My son is about to be 17 this year, so that's like, oh, he's only a couple years away before he's finding his life and maybe having a grandkid for me. One, she's 10 now, still got 10 to 15 years before she's in that range. Hopefully, and so I still have more grandkids possibly coming up. I can't be old and crotchety and beat up by the time those kiddos show up and they're around. So I just have a different outlook on why I want to be healthy, other than staying
Oh, hell
prepared for
yeah.
any occasion.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I've been eating pretty clean, predominantly meat, vegetables, fruits, cheese. Like that's my
Yeah,
go-to.
almost like a paleo thing, but not necessarily paleo, but just the basic stuff for me.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like, okay, like it's not paleo, it's like modern. I still like pasta, I'm Italian. Uh
Can't, yeah.
Stuff like that. Gotta have all that good shit. Where I'm just like, but the majority of what I eat is just like, all right, well, how processed is this?
Yeah.
Minimally, or just came out of the ground or off an animal. I'm like, perfect.
Oh yeah.
But like every once in a while, it's like, yeah, like, hey, pasta, tacos, pizza, like, but I think it's called like the 80-20 rule for that. Like 80% of the time you can eat very clean, but like don't take that 20% of the time and just have a absolute gorge. Just be like, this is just a
Yeah.
normal size meal.
Oh yeah. I think that was the hardest part when I started. Like, oh, it's okay. Sunday's my cheat day, and then I would like eat garbage the entire day, not just like one meal that wasn't on my plan, but like the entire day. I just threw the plan out of the window and got zero results because I was still much calorie intake that I didn't need, that I couldn't burn, that I couldn't use in just that one day. It was crazy. I kind of moderated myself a little bit and took that down, and now I'm seeing some good, better results because of it. It's the same thing with drinking. Yeah, I don't drink all week long, but then if I get hammered on the weekend, it's still as bad
I
sometimes
need
as
three
if
or
I'm
four
drinking
days to
every single day.
recover.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. You got to go into all those things with a plan. You're like, all right, well, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, and
And
I
then
don't.
some people feel shame for admitting it to people who are just like, no, because I eat like this now, or I only
Yeah,
have like one or two drinks like a week now. And it's just like, don't have shame in it. Just say it. Just be
don't
like,
have.
just do it.
Yeah, be yourself, bro. I love to see my friends and my people getting, trying to improve themselves. I had a thought yesterday that was pretty. I'm still thinking about it, kind of processing it. I spent a lot of time thinking, but one of the thoughts was, never grow up, not don't mature, but never stop trying to get better, to learn something new, to stay curious, to never grow up. If when you stop growing, whenever you hit this point in your life where you decide, well, this is enough. I'm satisfied. I don't want to learn anymore. I don't want to do anymore. I've already done everything. That's when we stagnate and we start to kind of like decompose. Even being alive, we just start to decline. And the folks that I know that have always like stayed young and want to learn new stuff and have open mind to change their lifestyle a little bit or try something new or continue learning things and staying curious about the world and about life, those people are the ones that are still like happy and they're growing and they're continually like, why do they look so young? Because their mind is still in that kid mode where everything's a question, where everything's something they can learn, where everything's fun for them to try and figure out. There's a puzzle to happen. Whenever we get to this maturity level where, well, we already know it all and we have to present this like facade that we have our shit together, you know uh, we start to stagnate. We start to kind of be those old men that are yelling at the clouds, that have this ideal that if it's not this way, then it's wrong. You grow up and you become a grown up, and you kind of start to stagnate and die eventually. You start to die then. But if you are continually trying to learn, continually trying to better yourself, continually trying to make changes and shift and evolve, for lack of a better word, you're always growing up, you're always living, you're continuing to live, you're never hitting the decline in life, you're always climbing that mountain. And I think that that's part of the point of like life is a struggle. It's not a You're not supposed to struggle and hate it, you're supposed to struggle and learn all the time. It's hard to learn, it's hard to humble yourself every day and realize you don't know anything. That's a strike at our ego that hurts us to think that we don't have things together. But if you can admit that you really don't know as much as you think you do, and you're happy about learning some new stuff, and you're excited to continue to grow, then you'll never get old. You'll never start to decline. You'll always be continually growing. There's that new study about I can't remember what it's called, the singular antillary cortex. It's a part of the brain that if you choose to do something you don't like to do, it grows your will to live. Like it's this thing that they're studying now in your brain. Not choosing hard things, like I like to work out, so that's not the same. If I go do a hard workout but I like to do that, that's different. But if I don't like to get up early to read and I make myself do that anyways, I'm actually growing a part of my brain that's included in the will to live, because I'm doing something I don't want to do and I'm choosing to do it anyway. I don't want to admit that I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't want to submit to somebody below me that they know more than I do. If I decide to just go ahead and learn something new from somebody that maybe does have less life experience than me, but they have more experience in an area than I do, that's giving up some of that ego, and that's growing that will to live and that desire to continue learning and growing. So I think that you hit the nail on the head. Find a community, get with people in real life that do the thing that you like to do too, and learn from them and grow from them and share with each other and create community. Never stop moving somehow, some way. If at the beginning your movement is just getting up and going to the place for now, that's better than sitting at home and not doing something. And then the more involved you get and the more kind of like life you get from it, give back to that community now. Share the knowledge that you have and kind of be part of that ecosystem and continue to grow, continue to learn. It's a beautiful thing, and you can maintain happiness and joy really easily that way.
I agree with that. Also, to the point you made about the thing that you don't want to do. So, like, if
Yeah,
you make a list of like the day's tasks you like looking at, or like things, chores, stuff you got to do,
yeah.
whatever one is the one you're like, I don't want to do that one first.
Do it first. Yeah,
If you do that one first, all the rest of them are super easy. And but you'll also just like at the end of it, we go, why the fuck didn't I want to do that? Like, what was so bad about that? Like, maybe it was harder, or you're like, oh, I got to walk all the way to the shed and get that like one random tool out. It's just like, well, as soon as that part's over, you're like, okay, this isn't bad.
exactly. Exactly. I think not to always go back on our Marine Corps experience, but I think boot camp in a way kind of helps because we've been through worse already. All right, so I got to walk to the tool shed. I got to move some stuff around to get that specific tool. How hard is that really compared to having to climb up a mountain with drill instructors yelling at you, or dig a fire hole in sand pits, with the sand fleas, or the things that we've done, going on deployments and living in the austere conditions that we lived in. Like once you've experienced like real hard stuff, like real lack, the even hard things of our modern society aren't that bad. I think that experiencing trial like that is so good for kind of like overcoming the basic things that, dude, no, it's hard. Not gonna lie, going to a, I don't want to like downplay the dredge of having to do things you don't like to do. Sometimes up here it's a battle, and in here it's a battle to do things. Even the basicness of getting up and brushing your teeth on some days is hard. I get that. I don't want to like diminish that at any bit. But sometimes to fight for that, you have to remind yourself that you've already done harder things before. You've already conquered bigger mountains before. Let's handle this thing real quick. And then once you've done that hard thing, like you said, that's the thing you didn't want to do the most. Once you handle that, everything else is a little easier. That's the good decline. Now you get to ride the high of having fun doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of folks that have had mental struggles, and I've been blessed that right now I'm not dealing with any of that kind of stuff. So I don't ever want to downplay anybody's what's hard for them, because all that stuff is relative, dude. Every bit of what's hard for somebody is relative. To people who grew up not eating healthy and not knowing that good food can just change your life, choosing good food over the convenient food is hard. It's difficult, from people who haven't had to put in 16-hour days before, staying at work an hour or later to make sure that the task for tomorrow is a little easier. That's like that's a hard mental barrier to jump. For those of us who sometimes deal with depression and declines in energy and motivation, just getting up that day. That's what I told you. My struggle is like once I'm awake, once I'm moving, I'm like a dog. Until you tell me to stop, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. Physical fitness, physical things don't stop me. I will go until my muscles give out, until I actually pass out. I won't stop. But getting up and getting started, that's a hard starter for me. That's a hard thing for me to decide, because it's so comfy, it's so nice, and actually start moving. But once I do, it's on. About every day. All right, I'm under the blankets and everything is cozy. Let Are you who you say you are? Are you really going to get up today and do the thing? And once I beat that, then the rest of the day is easy. So I don't ever diminish what some people would say is hard versus what's not hard. Going to the shed and getting the tool on some days when you're doubting whether or not you should be doing this job, whether you're doubting the efficacy of the financial gain of the job, and when you're doubting like the benefit of hours to stay at home whenever you're missing family, whenever you're separated from folks. Like even walking to the tool shed can be a battle, like 100%. I get that. From day to day every battle's different, but you're right. Once you do that hard thing, once you've tackled the thing you don't want to do, everything else gets easier.
Sometimes it's just getting to the place to do the thing, like from an analogy level, like just getting someone into the location to do the thing. Like if you were trying to convince them, just like, all right, if I can get you to the place so that I can get you moving, get like, let's use for example what you do, like get them to a taekwondo place. Like, yeah, man, I see you're like in a rough spot. Like, how about you just come, just kick the bag? You might feel better just hitting something. Just a little
Yeah.
bit of energy expenditure, a little exercise. Then afterwards, like, go get an ice cream. I don't care. Like, you'll feel better. Like, it'll be a great day. Kick something, have an ice cream.
Oh yeah,
And like,
dude.
there's like, oh man, I'm gonna have a rough time. I can't get there. Like, I will pick you up. Like, start
Yep.
like removing barriers that they can have an
Yeah.
excuse. Just like, I'll pick you up. Like, you can ride with so and so. Like, we got a van. Like, I don't care what it is. Just like, but it's like just getting them in the door, and they might drag their feet all the way between the van and getting in the door. Then as soon as they're inside, they're like, all right, I guess I have to do this. And then the next thing you know, they're hitting
Yeah.
a bag and they're smiling. It's just like,
Yes, dude.
good job.
You
You
hit
just
the
look at
nail on
them
the
and they're
head.
just like, look at you. And it's just like, yep.
Yeah. You got to lower the barrier of entry, like you say. Um, we do that strategically at our school. We strategically, schedule our classes at a time where it will work with almost anybody's schedule. You might not make this class, but you can make it to this class. And if this one doesn't work, we also have this one too. Like so we lower the barrier of entry. Um, so you work on weekends. We have a class on Saturdays. You work nights. We have 6 o'clock in the morning classes. You work days. We have evening classes. We have different age levels of classes. You're afraid to train with, these people. We have an only white belt and yellow belt option. Where it's only going to be the beginners until you get comfortable going with all the all ranks classes where everybody's in there kind of thing. You want to do some full contact kind of stuff. We have a sparring class where you can earn the right to join sparring class after you've proven yourself with being responsible and safe and in the basic stuff here. Then we'll let you come to the sparring class if that's what you're into. So there are checks and balances. Low barrier. Just come and try it. Get moving and expend that energy, like you say. Expend that kind of like nervous frustration and get that out of the way. Then learn that there is some responsibility to knowing how to hurt somebody. Whenever I teach you how to punch accurately and you get good at that, well, then you have to learn that you can't just punch anybody whenever you feel like it. There's some responsibility to knowing how to be dangerous. And after you get comfortable with that and with, other training partners, well, now you guys can train together at a higher tempo, at a higher level, and mutual combat, mutual understanding that you're not trying to kill each other, but you're just trying to kind of push each other. There's tons of benefit to that. Like I think that's why the sparring aspect of taekwondo and the sparring aspect of jiu-jitsu works so well. Once the confidence in your training partners is there and you trust each other to not try and hurt each other, then y'all can kind of go kind of hard, and there's that mutual combat that goes down. Like there is a lot of like up here benefit to doing that. In here, obviously, learning to tap and having to give up a lot, there's a lot of growth that happens there. But feeling safe up here that your partner's not trying to kill you, but kind of is, and you're trying to kill them, but not in reality trying to hurt them. That's a beautiful thing. It's kind of like back in the day when we used to fight each other, like at the barracks, or rolling, in the shop, just trying to ball each other up and wrestling a little bit. There's a little bit of pride and ego going on there, but nobody was really trying to. We got to work tomorrow. I don't want to actually hurt you. There's that kind of release that happens in those moments. Human beings are meant for a conflict of some kind. We're supposed to be fighting for something, fighting for our lives, fighting for justice, fighting for whatever. We're not meant to not be effectual. We're not meant to just sit and not do anything. We need to move. You have to fight something. We have to find a battle, and we have to learn to win that. That's why video games are always like us versus somebody else. We're racing for something. We're doing something. Uh, Even like the games like Minecraft have become, well, there has to be bad guys. At first, it was just building things, but now it's like we have to build things and defend that thing because we love this thing from something. And now we have creepers and nether dragons and all this other stuff that goes on. Like, there is an aspect in the human condition that we need to be striving for something. We need to be kind of moving toward a goal. And I love the thing that the combat sports and then the combat practices kind of give you that ability to do that in a safe way, in a practical way, and in a way that you can share that with other people. I think we're very evangelistic at heart as well. One of the first things I learned in the Marine Corps was that when you saw something funny in an email, you sent that to somebody else right away. When there was a funny video, you called the next shop over. Hey, everybody, let's look at this thing that's funny. It brought me joy. It made me laugh my ass off. So now I want you all to laugh at it too. The people that you care about, you want them in on that same joy. So that's the same reason why, like, if you want to find a group of CrossFitters, you just find one and they'll tell you all about CrossFit. You want to find a Marine, ask one. You want to find out who a pilot is, just ask, and they'll tell you because there's so much joy in the thing that we do and the thing that they do that they want to share that with you. They want you to be one too. They want you to go to CrossFit with them.
Yeah.
They want you to go train with them. They want to reciprocate that kind of joy that happens from doing a thing. Artists are the same way. I honestly believe that anybody sell in a gallery? I don't know. I'm not the kind of guy that would value or devalue somebody's art, but anybody can paint something. If you put a line on a piece of paper, you've created something. You can create, you can make art, you can find the joy that comes from thinking of a thing and making that thing. If that makes any sense.
Oh, it does. No, I've seen people who claim they aren't artists like paint beautiful fucking things, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean you're not an artist? Like you
How do
just
you say
like
no?
did that.
Yeah.
Like you sketched this thing out and then like painted this thing like right in front of my eyes. Like I don't like watch you do the entire thing. Like I was walking past you while I was doing other things, and I'm just like, no, that doesn't add up in my head. Like you're an artist. Like
How do
I
you not consider
watched you
yourself an
do art.
artist? Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it's
I
because
didn't go to art school. I didn't get a degree.
people consider themselves like other things, and I guess like I don't know if there's like a limit to like the amount of tags people will put on themselves, or like maybe they don't want to say they are, so people don't ask them to do the thing. Where it's just like,
There's
okay,
that.
I mean,
I don't know,
I'm
man.
sure
I
there's
think I
reasons.
think we're tied to identity pretty hardcore. The world is really about labels. Even those people who don't want to be labeled, you know, that's kind of their label. We live in a world where just because I do martial arts, I'm a martial artist, and some people say, well, then I can't be anything else, and they're surprised, like, oh, you draw and paint too? Oh, you ride motorcycles too? You know how to work on cars? You used to fly in helicopters? Like, yeah, man, I'm not just this one thing. I don't have to be just one thing. I can explore every avenue I want to, and I don't have to apply that label to myself if I don't want to. I don't have to call myself an artist. But if you see me as an artist, I can't deny that either. That's your perception of me, and those are your thoughts and those are your ideas. I can't keep those from you. If you think I'm an artist, well, then I'm cool with you thinking I'm an artist. On the other point, if you think I'm an asshole because I was rude to you, I can't you know change your mind about that through just saying, well, no, I'm not. I have to prove that to you. I have to show you that I'm not by my actions. So by my actions is how you'll know me, right? And I don't want to get super religious on any kind of public platform because I don't want to push anybody in any direction. But that scripture says that you'll know who I am by my actions. You'll know that I love
Yes.
Jesus by who I am, by what I do, by the way I show people compassion, by the way I live my life. That's how you're going to know who I am. Then that's all the people that are talking about what they like and talking about who not doing anything, not actually moving. I love art, so I make art, or I support art, or I push people to art. I love metal music, so I listen to metal music, or I perform metal music, or I support metal bands, and or I like food, so I eat food, or I support. I do something about the thing that I say that I'm about. I don't just say that I'm about it to fit into a culture or fit into a block, or because uh, in reality, the real recognizes the real. The people who are true know other people who are true, and that's the goal at the end of the day. Is I don't want to be anything other than myself and be real to who I am and be real to me. And if you think that I'm some way and that bothers me, well then that's on me to affect that change to change your perception. But if it doesn't bother me that you think that, well then I don't have to do anything about that. That's your perception and that's okay. If I'm screaming at the top of my mouth, at the rooftops that I'm an artist, come look at my art, but I don't make enough content or I don't actually draw or actually paint for you to know that I'm an artist, well then I'm kind of just shouting into the echo chamber, right? If I'm not doing the thing I say I am, then I'm not that thing. But if you're doing a thing and somebody says, "Hey, you're a pretty good artist," but you deny that, you can deny that if you want to. The world's going to say what they think about you based on what you do. So, to those people who out there who think that you have to check a certain box to be a certain thing, like you don't have to go to art school to be an artist. You should have certain certifications if you're going to tell somebody you're a mechanic, you know, but you don't have to go to mech school to be a mech. If you're really good, if you fiddled around with enough, engines, and you've kind of paid your way through years and years of learning how to wrench and what works and what doesn't work, there's laws against practicing certain things. I'm not going to be a surgeon because I've watched Grey's Anatomy, but there are certain
Yeah.
things that you can just do and once you figure out how to do those things, you're that thing now. You can say you're a mechanic if you've spent 15 years working on things. I've know kids that grew up building dirt bikes from whenever they were really small. I would go to them before I would go to the Harley dealership for a guy that's ASC certified on working on things. I'd go to this kid who grew up doing the thing and getting dirty and living that experience, whether he's got a certification or not. I go see that guy because I trust his work. I've seen him do it. It's in what he's been doing. It's in his actions that make him who he is, not a piece of paper that says that he is. If that makes any sense.
That does make sense. And you remember Stumbaugh, my best friend,
Yeah, yeah.
Ryan? So he's currently a plumber. Like when he first started, he's just like, do you know how many times I've pulled up to a house and I just like said, hold on, I got to go call my boss, and hopped on YouTube
Yeah,
and looked up the answer for things. And I'm just like, that's actually brilliant. He's like,
yeah.
yeah. I'm like, yeah. Like, so you
Nowadays,
can learn just the
anything.
world
You
to
can learn anything.
answers is at your fingertips.
Oh yeah,
Literally your fingertips. You're just like,
typing
I
it
think I was
away.
looking up adult slip and slides this morning. I'm just like, yeah,
You need
we could
some,
find some bomb ass slip and slides.
yeah, tarp, some soap, a heel, and you're good.
You don't even need the hill. You just need space.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you can just run really fast and slide down. We,
Yeah.
I love that. I love the DIY world now that we live in. Like you can just Google anything and change your own oil. I mean, basically, we should have learned how to do that when we were kids. I kind of believe that there's basic things that you kind of should have learned so that you can function as an adult growing up. But if you didn't get that experience, like you didn't have somebody to teach you how to do that, you can just do it now. You can just Google on what to do. There's, like I said, if you want to find a community, there's somebody that can teach you how to do anything. There's nothing better than typing in the year model of whatever vehicle you have, and then right after that, the predictive text says oil change, left tire, this thing not working, this thing blinking. Like it's out there. You can figure out your problem really easily now. It's beautiful.
Yep.
You just got to do the work though. The ditch doesn't dig itself. You know what I mean? The
Yeah, but it's
the car
minimum
doesn't
effort to like
magnet.
just get right in there.
Yeah,
Like just typing into your phone to like the 2016 whatever you got, like left tire wobble. It's just like, oh,
yeah,
apparently this is a problem. I didn't know I
yeah,
had a recall. Just like
yeah.
dumb shit like that.
For
It's
sure.
like,
Anything.
yeah,
And that's the thing I think is cool is there's common problems. Everybody is fighting their own battles, but we're all fighting almost the same battles, similar battles. So you don't have to do it alone. You can always ask somebody who's either already done it or is going through it currently, and like, okay, so what are you doing now? The wheel doesn't have to be a reinvented. Uh, Most people have either already had your problem or are having a similar problem, and you can kind of. That's why that community is so important. You know, no man's island is a real thing. We need our time to recharge and some alone time from time to time,
Yes.
but you're not alone, dude. There's people out there that are going through what you're going through, and if you can admit that and suck it up, you know, you can fix so many problems from that wobbly tire to like some deep dark stuff. I mean, we all sometimes think the same things and go through the same stuff. Find that community of people who are like minded and willing to kind of like bounce things with each other, and you can figure stuff out pretty easily together.
There's also people on parallel paths to you that have already gone through it or gone through something similar, and you can get advice off of that.
Oh yeah,
Which is why, again, community is so important.
heck
And
yeah,
especially if you're surrounding yourself with like-minded thing, you're going to get a like-minded answer, which you're going to go, that worked for you. That'll most likely work for me.
yep,
Whereas if you're just like got the shotgun approach and you're just like, again, we'll go on going back to the word you said earlier, the void. If you're trying to add to the void is not going to add to you.
nope.
It's like, all
Let's
right,
face it, it's
well,
not
okay.
going to. Yeah, the void's
Yep.
job is to suck it all in and never give it back up. That's what it does. That's just what the void does. Um, so it does no good to do that. Just to type away, just to like scream out for no reason. Sometimes that's therapeutic, but after that catharsis is done, the problem is still there. Now what? You still got to do
Yep.
something. You can't just sit there.
It's like it's like going on vacation but not dealing with all the stuff that you have to before vacation. Then you come back and it's still there waiting for you. It's just like, yeah, you had a
Oh yeah,
break, but here I am, dude.
yeah, piled up.
And then you're
I
like,
try to
oh
stay ahead of
shit,
that
back to my
stuff.
shitty life. It's like, yeah. Oh, so
Yep.
do I.
I try to stay ahead. I'm actually
No.
technically on vacation now. Um, I'm pretty bad about taking breaks and not spending, you know, some recharge time. I'm a little bit of a workaholic, to be honest. And but I was really prepared this time around. I planned it early. I got it on the calendar. The boss people knew that I was going to be gone, and I prepped them for me to be gone. And that I actually took some time, and this is kind of crazy. I had to do some work to be prepared to not do any work. So it was a little bit of extra on my plate to make sure everybody was
Yes.
ready before I left, and I had all my things, like you said, taken care of, so that I didn't have a pile build up when I come back, or I didn't leave anything undone. I did a little extra work to make sure, but now I'm on break and I'm like kind of lighthearted and lightheaded because I know I don't have anything waiting on me. I can actually rest. I can actually recreate and be calm on vacation because I know there's not something looming and waiting for me back there. It's hard to actually relax and let your mind go all the way whenever you know in the back of your brain you left some stuff hanging, you left something, you know, not ready to go. And if you don't prepare for that, or if you don't prepare people for that, you're wasting your vacation time. You didn't do anything for work, but you also didn't do anything for work, and so now when you come back, that stuff is biting you in the butt. So yeah, I prepared
Oh
for it, and
yeah.
now I'm feeling kind of lighthearted. This exchange here has been kind of, you know, life giving and kind of part of the vacation time because I get to just kind of veg out and not have to worry about I got a deadline in 2 hours or I have some other stuff looming in the background. I have enough to give my time freely to you and not half-ass it because I'm thinking about, oh, what am I going to do next and what's my next thing and what's my next, you know, my next thing. I have this time blocked out and it's really nice.
So I like what you're saying, but like what you're going for is just like you have the presence of mind to be present at the moment because you set things up that way.
Yeah, I'm being
Yeah, you've
intentional
like planned
with
for
the
it.
time that I'm at.
I like that. No, that's very good. No, I think that's something that we could all learn to do better. I know me especially. There's a lot of moments where I'm like, ah, shit, I'm not being present.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like no, I
Intentionality is
recognize
always
that.
a
Not enough though.
yeah. Well, intentionality is a big pillar of whenever I'm training and teaching my students. Like, okay, you're here and you're kicking bags, but why? You know, when we're training here, why am I doing this punch instead of this technique? Why am I doing this instead of that? When you understand your why, you know, which is shorthand for your motivation, for the reason, what are you doing this for? When you have good intention behind what you're doing, your whatever you're doing has more effect. I'm not here just because I
Yes.
said I was going to be here. I'm here because I wanted to spend time with you. I wanted to give your watchers and your circle quality content. I wanted to participate in this event and be here. We spend a lot of time worrying about what happened or worrying about what's going to happen, and that this time in the middle is just being ate up by these two things that we actively can't do a thing about in those moments, right? We can prepare for this and we can recollect this, but this happening right now is what we're supposed to be experiencing. And I want to experience it. I want to be present in it and really enjoy the time that I'm having right now. So when I'm on the mat training, I'm not thinking about lunch. I'm not thinking about what's going on. It's there and it's in the back of my mind. I'm not completely toned out to it, but I'm not actively thinking about it. I'm actively thinking about what I'm doing in that moment. Where's my wrist at right now? I'm getting pressure from this side, so I need to adjust here. And the flow becomes so much better. My training time gets so much better because I get to be part of the thing that's happening. When I'm drawing and I'm painting, you know, if I'm distracted, I got to take a break and really deal with that distraction and get back to what I'm trying to create in that moment. If I am working on a task, I need to block that time out and be intentional about that time, because anything that's invading on top on that thing is impacting the product that I'm putting out. It's impacting what I'm creating in that time frame. Even if it's just catching up on emails, I'm dedicated to answering those emails. I'm focusing on that thing at the time. I think humans are actually really bad at multitasking. We really are. Our brain can be going off and handling a bunch of different things in the background and background processing, but I think we're only really good about handling the thing in front of us at any given time. We
Mm.
can band aid a bunch of little things, but to actually fix problems and actually deal with the things that are going on, whatever's right in front of us in that time gets most of our attention. It can be done. But if we're got a thing in front of us, but trying to do all the other things, this thing is suffering from that. So I am very intentional about whatever I'm doing at that time. That's the thing that I'm doing. And I kind of learned that over time, because I tried to multitask, man. I tried to bounce here and bounce there and things at once. And I get lost and I was doing what I was doing, and everything just declined. Once I decided to be very intentional about small things at a time, small chunks of the elephant at a time, man, I started getting really productive and just started enjoying the things that I was doing more.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way about things. Maybe it's because we came from the same school of thought on a lot of things, and then the slow learning process to realizing, like, oh, I see now.
Yeah, Gunny wasn't just being a
It's like,
douchebag.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not even that, but even like coming up through in martial arts, where you're just like,
Oh
oh, I see
yeah,
that too, and like, and then what's the saying? When you see the path broadly, you can see it in all things,
yeah.
or something like that. I might be saying it wrong.
I think there's a lot of that, like the wax on, wax off thing of Karate Kid too. Like, as cliche as that is,
Yeah.
dude, just wax the car. Why? Don't ask why. Just do it. Just do it sometimes.
See, I
Now,
disagree with
I
the
think,
asking why part.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was like, I think had Miyagi said, "You're doing this because you're learning a block really well, and this drill, this activity helps you build that muscle memory and is going to ingrain that into you," right? Because there was that turning point in the movie when he did say,
Where
"Show
he
me,"
does
you
give
know,
him the why.
and he started attacking him, and he was like, "Oh," and those dots connected. Well, his training intensified, right? So I
Yeah.
get the idea of, hey, you can find benefit in the mundane, just doing something over and over again will build muscle memory and can be a good thing. Uh, but I'm a big proponent of telling your student why they're doing the thing. These days, you can go learn and punch, kick anywhere. You can just jump on YouTube, and they're teaching black belt level techniques of jujitsu on Instagram. You could have some joker and his buddy watching Instagram videos and learning jujitsu, learning that stuff. But if there's not a mentor or coach, somebody behind you kind of telling you why to do the thing and not just the mechanic of the thing, there could be some folly that happens in that. I think part of the beautiful journey of growing up in the martial arts and growing up is that teacher mentor guidance through this of why am I doing this? Well, this is why. And I trust you because I've seen you do the thing, or you have experience in this, and this is why you're teaching me the why behind this thing. Uh, Back in the day before the internet, there were people just opening up schools because you could just buy a black belt online, or not online, but like through the mail. You could just get one made. You could just go, you can buy one and open up a school and call your own martial art, whatever you want to call it. And all these guys, get called out these days because you know, we can check up on you. And we know, like, one of my all-time favorite movies in the entire world, Bloodsport,
Yep.
was based on a true story of this guy named Frank Dukes who did these underground kumites and was a black belt in the Black Belt Dragon Society and all this crazy stuff. And now we know, that he was kind of a fake and a phony. But in that time, that dude knew all the big names in martial arts because he just said he was this thing and had a black belt that he bought. And like, so now there is some, you have to kind of walk the walk and talk the talk. So when the student asks why, you can't just say because I said so. You can't just say because I'm the sensei, because I'm the master, I'm Sabanem, you're supposed to listen to me. No, it's because this is why. Oh, I trust you now because you're being honest with me and you're telling me the why behind the thing, not just wax the car because I said wax the car. So yeah, I also
Right.
disagree with the don't ask why thing. Um, there was a time when that was appropriate, like at boot camp. Don't ask why. Right now, we don't have time for that. Right now, I just need you to do the
Right.
thing because they're mentally breaking you down and learning to be obedient. Because in the heat of battle, in the heat of things that are going on, sometimes you don't have time to ask why. Sometimes you just have to do. But when there's
Yes.
time and it's slow pace, you should be very like intentional with teaching the why.
I think it's more just like the timing of when he taught him the why in that
Yeah,
movie, because he had time when he was like wax the car, paint the fence, do the things. Like it's not like he didn't have the time to tell him. They weren't under pressure for time. He just chose a different time when the dot could be connected. But you could connect the dot a lot earlier, and while he's doing the thing, he's going to be much more motivated to do it, less complaining about why am I painting your fence?
yeah.
Why am I waxing your car? But for storytelling purposes, it was a great storytelling
Oh yeah,
purpose. Like it worked for that media. It just doesn't work with humans in everyday life.
exactly. Because it's make believe. Because it's a story. Also,
Yeah.
to break down that movie, and I've probably watched that movie a billion times, man. The Karate Kid was probably the one of the most pivotal movies in my life, dude. I love movies in general, but like after watching Karate Kid, I had some pajamas that were Karate Kid pajamas that looked like a gi, like a traditional karate gi, but they weren't. They were just pajamas, and I wanted to wear those things to school, like so bad, and my mom wouldn't let me, and she wouldn't let me wear them to school because they're your pajamas, man. They're not for going out in town, and you're not supposed to be going to school with pajamas on. But I wanted to wear them to school so bad. So now I'm excited. I get to wear my karate pajamas every day. But that the wax on, wax off, don't ask question things, I think was kind of also a test. Um, are you willing to just do the work that needs to be done, or are you what's your intent behind learning this stuff in the moment? Are you just being emotional and wanting revenge for these dudes that kicked your butt for Do you just want some a feeling of gaining power because you're feeling kind of trampled on, you're feeling like the underdog in life right now, and if that's all you want from this, and you're not willing to put in the work that it's going to take to get really good at this and actually have the confidence to do these things effectively and not just know the technique but never actually learn the technique in a way that it's muscle memory in a way that's effective, then if you're not even willing to basically do the basic level, then you're not ready for the actual learning of the technique, of the knowing the application of the responsibility of that. And I think it goes back to responsibility. If you're not willing to put in the hard work to learn these things, well then I'm not going to waste my time teaching you. And I think there's also that aspect to it as well. Again, in the storytelling, beautiful. Mr. Miyagi has this guy wax all these beautiful cars and it looks great. But in actuality, in real life, I think that's something that you need to be upfront with your student from the beginning. Like, hey, look, I'm going to teach you these things, but it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to put in repetitions. Just because I show you the thing one time and you do it one time really well, I need you to do it like 1,000 times really well before you really start to understand. And I'm going to tell you why you're doing this, but if you don't keep that forefront and don't put that intent to even your basic technique, the benefit's going to take so much longer to get there. So if you want to be good fast, you have to have good quality repetition. If you want to take forever to get good, well then you just continue doing what you're doing. I think so. There's that aspect of just kind of testing the student if he has what it takes mentally to just do the work. Sometimes the grind is difficult. I know
Yeah.
in judo practices, these guys will hit 100, what they call tachikomi, where it's just doing the drill to fit in before you even actually throw the partner. Just getting the grips correctly, getting the footwork correctly, and just moving into that position 100 times before they do the throw, before they get the actual technique down. They just do the footwork 1,000 times, 2,000 times before they even get to actually do the throw. Like, are you willing to do that grind before you get the technique, or are you just here for the icing on the cake? And I think that's some of the purpose in that wax on, wax off kind of mentality of those movies as well.
So that ties back into something I learned early in, and it's I love Bruce Lee
Oh
movies,
yeah,
and I love Bruce Lee. So it was I don't fear the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man that's practiced one kick 10,000 times.
exactly, dude. I am a big fan of like specializing sometimes. Like at my school, I'm not
Hmm.
necessarily the most powerful kicker. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty pound for pound. I'm pretty good, but my strengths and my areas are in like in the kata, in the traditional patterns of taekwondo. I have a lot of that stuff memorized really well. It's just something that the intricacies of techniques being used correctly and timing and the stances and oftentimes I feel like that's my specialty and that's what my junior have come in questions about more than anything, is on the form techniques and the patterns. Do you remember what number step happens here? And is that this chamber this way or is it chambered this way? Those are things that I remember those details of really, really well. Um, while I work on all of those things, I recognize that as one of my strengths. So that's where I benefit some of my instructors the most on the mat, anyways. So I'm not upset about that. I love that, and so I drill those techniques over and over and over again. Most of my days on the mat start off with hitting all of my forms from white belt level through all the forms that I know, just to keep them sharp and keep them there. And so by the time I am like a 60-year-old dude with like handlebar mustache of white beard and walking around looking like a pie
No,
May,
no, no.
you
Grow
know,
the long,
yeah,
wispy Asian
yes, the
master.
full Manchu and all
Do
that.
that one.
I'm maybe I will one day because it's kind of funny I think, but it's also kind of cool. Uh, and when they ask me those things, I want that to be front of mind, like memory. I can just spit that thing out. And I think there's some dangerousness of being really good. My teacher Chip talks about how Ronda Rousey, before she kind of got her butt handed to her, in the fight, that's the first fight she lost. She went with the same basic Uchimata judo throw, the same basic hip throw into an arm bar, and it worked every single time, man. How many fights did she win with almost that exact basic technique? And that's one of the most basic judo sequences that they teach from like white belt starting, basic footwork, basic everything. And she won with it time and time again. And everybody knew it was coming and nobody could stop it because she had done it so much. She was so good at it. Like, it's so hard to beat somebody who's got like a vicious jab. If they know how to use that jab and keep that distance and it sticks and has tons of power, it's hard to get past that initial defense to start working on somebody. Whenever we start to switch up our fighting style sometimes and we're not as good in that realm, we try to match who our opponent is. Sometimes we get a little bit of a showstopper, and that's what happened with her. I think was she was so good at that same. Well, if doing that all the time, she's not really that good of a fighter. And that messes with your ego. So then you start switching your game up and trying to adjust to somebody else's game at that same level of competition, and then you get handed to you. So you have to kind of mediate and deal with that. If you're really good at one thing, stick with that for a while and be really good at that and never forget that thing. But if you want to be good at thing up to that level. Be okay with being a beginner in this new thing and not, well, because I'm an expert at this level, then go ahead and put me in expert mode at this thing. That's not going to work out very well. You should go back to that Bruce Lee thing and do this thing 10,000 times before you call yourself an expert at that thing. There's nothing wrong with learning new things and changing and evolving, but don't let your ego put you in a position that you're not ready for because you have experience in another area. While that will inform and maybe lessen the learning curve because you can connect the dots with things that are similar in that technique, don't take that as like, well, then I'm ready for the big leagues right away. If you're just now learning how to strike, you are an amateur striker. Stay in the amateur levels for a while and build back up to the professional level of
Yep.
that area there. If you've never grappled before, but you're like a fourth degree in some other martial arts, don't try and put yourself up against the purple belts, the brown belts, the black belts of grappling yet. You're not ready for that, and that's okay. You can start back at the beginning and be okay with that. There will be similarities, and your learning curve will be lessened, but you still got to start at the bottom and work your way through those learning curves to before you put yourself just at that adult level or at that professional level. We as martial artists sometimes can let the ego get in our way. Doesn't mean you're immediately just going to be recognized as a black belt in another area. You should take that. You've proven yourself as a black belt, so you know that it takes. Use that aspect of being a belt in the other area as a white belt and work through those ranks there, and then you'll have the benefit of lessening the curve and then getting really good at that thing you want to be good at. Don't try to jump into the deep end right away just because in this area you've proven yourself.
I agree. I would also say to that, like, and this kind of ties into the yin yang symbol. So, like, if you're a black belt in striking, but you suck at
Yeah.
blocking, you need to like. So that's like, there's your black belt here, but a white belt here,
Yep.
and those interlocking things. Well, there's a reason they interlock
Yeah.
because it's the same side of the different side of the same coin. So
Exactly.
you got to get good at both. Like that's where my mind went when we were talking about that. I'm like, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense
It
actually. That
is.
applies to this too. And like I said, seeing the way broadly, you can see it in this other thing. It's just like that makes sense.
Yeah. It's my friends. I tell them it's like Lego pieces, man. Uh, and it's not there's a basic kit that comes with the one by ones and the two by twos, and then you have your basic Lego kits, and then you have like the Millennium Falcon Lego kits that comes with all the extra pieces and the wildness. But the concept is exactly the same. It's interlocking pieces that snap when they're in the spot, and if you put them in the correct order, you get this thing. So all the basic foundational things that you learn from striking, from blocking, from all those things, if there is a gap in any of those foundational things, it's going to show up when you're trying to do the hard, difficult, advanced things. Big time, it's going to show up. And there's levels to this, like you said, striking and blocking. If you're a black belt at striking, but you're like yellow belt level blocking, and you have to fight somebody, Well, now you're really like in that blue belt, high blue belt, brown belt level in actuality, because one has to sync up. So black belt as itself isn't just in your style as a whole; it's in your individual technique. You can be a black belt at striking, a black belt at kicking, a black belt at certain types of kicks, but be a yellow belt at other types of kicks. So you have to balance all of that out. We like to say that in our martial arts, our like standard for black belt is you can do any foundational single technique at black belt level at any given time. Every time I throw a middle section punch, it's black belt level 100% correct middle section punch. If I throw a front leg roundhouse, it is got perfect pivot, good chamber, good roundhouse technique at any level. That one singular technique, basically really, really good 100% of the time. If I'm throwing a advanced combo technique, more than one kick, more than one punch, I have to finish that first technique really, really well before I move to the next one, or else those pieces, advanced pieces, start to crumble. So if I'm good at striking, but I'm not good at blocking in a fight, once my opponent gets past my striking defense, I'm in a world of hurt.
Yep. No, and that all, yeah, that all tracks 100%. And I really hope people understand that that's not just the literal thing of what you're saying, but that so much of that is also an analogy.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
it's
that's
that's a beautiful thing about martial arts. I think is it's one of the sports that isn't just a sport. It's a lifestyle thing. It could be a lifestyle thing. If you take into consideration that most martial arts have a code of honor of some kind, some sort of budo, some sort of like so. For instance, in
philosophy
Taekwondo,
behind it.
yeah. So like in Taekwondo, the tenets of Taekwondo, right? I shall observe the tenets of Taekwondo, which are um, courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self control, indomitable spirit. Right, those are the tenets of Taekwondo. Those are the things that I want to incorporate into my life to become a better Taekwondo student. And I practice self control and I practice indomitable spirit. That I persevere to things and I don't give up. When I apply those things to my life off the mat as well as on the mat, I become a better person. You know what I mean? Like, and there is a budo, there is a code to almost every martial art has that kind of like ethical code that they combine with the martial art. And it's really weird. The Marine Corps had it as well, right? It was like the one mind any weapon thing. Um, we tried to they wanted to create a synergy. I remember in the early stages of the Marine Corps martial arts program, they really weren't teaching us a lot of techniques. When I was going through my instructor stuff, it was in Djibouti, Africa, and we had a lot of sit down classes where they would talk to us about like warrior ethos to the part that Marine Corps is. It's very linear, kill them before they kill you kind of style, but even the ethical aspects, the opponent is either dead or incapacitated, you stop to damage this other human being life after you incapacitated them, and they're not going to do any harm to the rest of your people in your unit and a part of the mission. Death isn't is the ultimate goal. And this is in a class talking about legitimate combat, hand to hand in a war zone type of combat. They were still trying to instill a warrior ethos of balancing your power and the escalation of force that we were doing. And that's mind blowing to me when I look back and think about that. The style of martial art that it was, what it was designed to do, it's a hand to hand thing. We have now lost the ability to fire rounds at each other. We're not fighting in, a push button war situation. Now it's mano a mano, eye to eye. And even in that situation, when I'm deciding whether I go home or you go home, I'm supposed to have my wits about me and to a point where I'm not gonna, if I don't have to kill you, I don't. Right? That's even in the most basic, rudimentary style of martial arts that these ancient, old style traditional martial arts have been trying to teach us for forever. It is an analogy. There is a balance to life that we're supposed to have. I don't really subscribe to symbolism like the yin yang being a symbol. I don't wear yin yangs. I don't wear crosses even. I am a Christian, but I don't wear a cross because I don't put my faith in that symbol of the cross. I put my faith in the lifestyle that I'm living as a Christian, the things that I'm doing, the balance I'm creating is what I put my intent on. But I get the idea of that balance. I understand what those symbols mean. You have to have balance in life, man. You cannot just one thing and let the other things forsake. Like we talked about earlier, if I'm just eating garbage, but I'm working out to balance that out, there's going to be an imbalance there. I have to also eat healthy. In my eating style, I have to have that 80/20. That's the correct balance for me, for my body type, for what I do, for my fitness goals, right? For somebody else, it might be a little different. If they're not the physical appearance or nutritional value, but they are worried about, kind of lowering some cholesterol numbers and things like that. Their balance might be different, but we have to have balance.
I would agree with that. But I also got to let you know, man, I got to cut this out. I got to go take care of some chores and things and all that sort of stuff. I
Absolutely.
would love to continue this another day.
Whenever you want to, man, I'm free for you. I love what you're doing. I love the, even the content that goes left and wild. It's crazy entertaining, and I just hope that what I was able to talk to you guys is beneficial to somebody. I don't want to just put stuff out into the void and it just be me ranting and raving. Hopefully, this benefits somebody, and for allowing you to use your platform to do that, man. I hope that the rest of your day goes good. You have good doing your chores, and the hard stuff is over with for you today. I hope, and if not, then I'll pray that you get through the hard stuff really well today. Okay?
Thank you, my man. Thank you for praying for me.
Yeah,
And I get to go outside and play in the sun. So, I mean, it's just chores at this point. And any day that it's sunny in Western New York is a beautiful day to me.
absolutely. All right, brother. Take care of yourself. Okay?
I love you too, man. Thanks for coming on and thank you for everything. Thank you for giving me your time.
Yeah.
All right. Later, dude.
Later.